What's good, everybody? This your boy B Money, and we're on another episode of the Live Fashion Podcast. And what we typically talk about on the podcast is everything business, whether it be straight business practices and systems, or just about the business industry or both. But what we're primarily talking about on this series is how to build a product from nothing. So what we're going to get into on this episode 11, we're going to talk about nobody sees the vision at first. And I can attest to this just on my own right because I've been in the fashion industry for 8 years and it's been a struggle. But at the same time, I love designing clothes. I love uh, building a brand. I love, the aspect of meeting new people, making new connections as I go along. So, and inspiring people as well too to be their best self. So that's just what it is for me. But let's get it right into it. Um, the main message here is most successful businesses look unrealistic in the beginning, and that's just what it is because number one, you don't have a concrete plan. Number two, um, you don't see the things that you're gonna have to adapt to as you go along, as much as you plan for it. And then, you know, most people usually believe in results before they believe in the vision, and that's just what it is. So, number one is the visible things. Every entrepreneur experience, and stage in their business where they're unnoticed. Whether it's, just because they're still building everything up or it's just because, they're going through the process of not being noticed because they don't have enough exposure, even when they start. The next thing is, the early stages are, often the quiet moments for the brand. And that's typically between, the first 5 to 10 years that a brand operates. And you'll see in some industries, some, uh, businesses, they'll blow up immediately within like the first 2 years, but that's not typically what happens. Um, a lack of support does not mean the lack of potential. That's something that you always got to remember because even though things may not be getting out there, even though you're planned out for a long term success plan, when you're planned out for a long term success plan, and especially if you're independent, things are not going to go perfectly as planned, and you're going to have to build because you're doing you're putting all the money up, you're, putting the plan together, you're creating everything from scratch, and that's just how it works. So, working without a applause is the first thing, and the first thing your mind has to really get, you know, consumed with. Because if you're going to really build something that is successful, you have to continue without validation. Posting content nobody engages with, that's the, important thing to, really fathom. Because a lot of times when you get started, you think you're going to have 200, 300, a million likes, and that's not realistic. Building while people, doubt you, you got to remember, especially when, you're building something locally, a lot of people, that you went to school with, that, you played with when you were kids, a lot of your family members, a lot of people are going, hate what you're doing because they feel like they should be doing something like that too. Whether it be that or something totally different, but they feel like they should be doing the things that you're doing. And honestly, they're not made for it. So you gotta block out the noise, put on the blinders like a horse, and look straight with tunnel vision. You know what I'm saying? And be delusional about your plan and have the ultimate faith to get the shit done. Number two is why people don't understand early. Most people only understand proven ideas. So even when you're pitching an idea to a major corporation or label or things of that sort, they want to see a finished product. That's why people that get signed, on a record deal typically don't get signed unless they've already had a couple of songs put out with a large following behind it. The next thing is vision requires information. So, imagination. I'm sorry, not information. Well, it doesn't require information, but it requires imagination. We all have to have a sense of imagination when we are creating things. Gotta go back to when you were a kid, and if you were a kid around the early '90s, like I was in the mid '90s, you definitely had to have imagination because there wasn't a lot of TV programs on TV, and even the ones that were, they created a sense of imagination for you, so that way you'd be willing to watch the next episode. Um, the next thing is, fear-based opinions. A lot of people are going to come at you in the early stages with reasons why you can't do what you're about to do. It's just like me. I'm putting poetry and fashion together. A lot of people have never seen anything like that in a long time or even at all. So it's hard to even conceptualize that thing. And a lot of people are not even into poetry as much as, fashion. But just putting the two together is not only a struggle because not a lot of people like it, but also on the other side of things, it's an oversaturated market. But still doing it because I love the two and I want to make it work. The next thing is staying focused long enough to win. This is the biggest thing because patience is a skill. I had a friend, DJ Wally, rest in peace, that we grew up together. He was my best friend. We lived right across the street from each other. I used to live on 110 Clubhouse Drive, Willingboro, New Jersey, and he used to live diagonal to my house. His parents knew my mom very well. They were pretty much best friends in the sense of making sure that we were, taken care of. They let us play all day, every day. Literally, after I was done my homework, I would go right over to his house and play basketball every day. But once he started to do the DJ thing, that was right before I started doing fashion. And right before he passed away, 2 days before he passed away, he had told me, he was like, D, I see what you're doing with the brand, and I love it. He was like, I see you at 2, 3, 4 in the morning even making posts. And he was like, that's all good and all, but at the end of the day, you gotta remember it's a long-term game. When you're doing things, you gotta make sure that you don't burn yourself out. But you also gotta remember to keep putting yourself out there because it takes every effort, every inch, every, strategic plan that you have in order to make that shit work. He was like, it took him 5 years just to build his name on the East Coast, and then took another 5 years on the West Coast. So that way when he came back to the East Coast, he could actually get the name and get the price that he was actually asking for and negotiate it in every venue on the East Coast and still haven't put in that same work and more. So that's why patience is a skill. And again, even with that, momentum takes time. So even with all those things, it's very important that you keep the consistency because that's what creates the visibility. So, delayed gratification has got to be on your mind. Longevity and legacy has got to be on your mind. Even if you're at the smallest level or plan to be at the smallest level, that's what the goal has got to be, making long-term success and doing it without validation, even when you get validation. That's all I got to say on this episode, guys, and we got more coming for, this series. You got another few episodes that I'm getting ready to record, so make sure you stay tuned and keep visualizing your purpose.
Thank you guys for watching another episode of A Lot of Fashion. We appreciate you guys for liking and subscribing and also staying tuned through the whole episode. Make sure that you take these business gems and start visualizing your purpose. I am out.